Welcome everyone to a very special Grand Prix Offline Championship 2011 season race. Not the fact that we are now at the halfway point and we're here for round 11 in Hungary, but for the fact that it is officially the 100th race in the Offline Championship. It's amazing that over a year ago, back with Az, we started with the 2006 series, and we have already got 2011 in just over a year, which is quite incredible. But so let's hope that this continues and we have another 100 races. Anyway, welcome to the 11th round of the season. I am your host, George Roke, and welcome to the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring. 14 corners, 70 laps. It's going to be a long race, so we'll go briefly over the race rating and the driver of the day. So the race rating was given a 7.8 out of 10, which is a pretty decent rating, because I think that was a pretty good race in Germany, Evan Byrne winning the race. And Sean Grant, who scored his first points of the season for Virgin, got driver of the day, meaning that now officially all 11 cars in the season have now scored points, which did not happen in 2010, but happened, of course, in 2009. Anyway, we are now going to head to the grid. So on pole position is James Willows, yet to take a victory this season, with Evan Byrne in an ideal position in second. Waze Cooper in third for Ferrari. Fourth is Florian Volker for Red Bull. Fifth is Joseph Wills for Ferrari. Sixth is Mikolos Gal for McLaren. Seventh is Alex Southgate for Mercedes. And eighth place is Roland Moyton. A good qualifying by the Hungarian driver. And if we go further down the order, onto the fifth row of the grid, we have Viggo Holst and Rivki Farkrasane. A good qualifying from Farkrasane, after considering his season has not been particularly good this season. Well, it hasn't really been for either Sauber driver, to be fair. But Armand Carr is in 11th place with Felix Sonntag. Probably a bit disappointed with that qualifying in 12th. 13th place is Robert Ionescu, followed by Jay McKenzie in 14th. 15th place is George Roke, followed by Lucas Levi in 16th. And as we go further down the order, in 17th place is Sean Grant for Virgin after scoring his first points in Germany. And 18th place is Sam Thompson. And as we go further down the order, onto the 10th row of the grid, we have Adam Wolff and Xavier Quinlan for Virgin. Well, I should say Adam Wolff for Williams and Xavier Quinlan for Virgin. And as we go on to the final row of the grid, it is the two Lotus drivers of Michael Macho and Roman Quark, both driver seats that could be up for grabs once the announcements are made, which will start next week for the seats for next season. Anyway, we'll now have a look at the weather for the race. And the British weather, which had gone to Germany last week, has now transferred all the way over to Hungary, as we're set to have rain for the whole race. So it's meant to be light, but possibly a bit harder in the early part of the race, and light as it comes towards the end. So this should be a very, very interesting race indeed. Wet races are always usually good in the OC, but pretty much all races you can say are good in the OC, apart from Valencia, of course. Anyway, we are now onto the grid, so we're about to have 5 lights. Can James Willows get his first victory of the season for Red Bull? It's been a pretty torrid time for him. So the lights are now about to come on. We now have 2 lights, now have 3 lights, now coming on to 4 lights, and now we have 5 lights. And the lights are out, and we are underway, and James Willows looks to have got a good start, as Evan Byrne is in second. Can Kuba, who's made a good start from third, get second coming into the first corner, but James Willows makes the perfect start as he heads into turn 1, and he takes the lead, and now he keeps it. And there was debris flying in the background. There's been a bit of contact. There's debris going off. There's a Ferrari going wide. There's a Force India off in the background. Moitin's lost his front wing, and George Roke's made a great start, but who is the driver involved? And that is Viggo Holst for Force India. What a nightmare start for him. But I could see there was a notable amount of debris flying everywhere, but Holst at the moment is the only one who is retired. So who is the driver that has collided with him? And it's a Toro Rosso once again. The Toro Rossos seem to be getting involved in everything, and that was Robert Ionescu that was involved. And actually, he lost his rear wing. He got hit by McKenzie in the back. But once again, the Toro Rossos, they can't seem to stop anyone. They're Toro Rosso magnets. They might as well have magnets in their car. They probably have magnets in their engine. They seem to collide with everyone. Same with the Lotus drivers. But Ionescu hits Holst, and then he gets hit from behind by McKenzie, but McKenzie doesn't get any damage. Actually, we go on board with Rivki Farkrasane, and he actually gets hit pretty significantly, but he somehow manages to escape without any damage. He gets quite lucky there, does Rivki Farkrasane, I should say. And as he comes round the first corner and see if there's any other drivers involved, the two Lotus drivers haven't got any damage, so it looks like Moitin obviously got damage, Ionescu's got damage, I don't know if anyone else has got damage, but Kuba has actually made his way past Byrne for second place as we look through, and the car's heading through turn 5, turn 3, sorry, not turn 5, as George Roke is now trying to get past Moitin for 5th place. Roke has made a fantastic start. He's got all the way from 15th, and now he'll get up to 5th place, 10 places in just one corner. Very, very lucky there. Now Alex Southgate makes his way around, and Armar Car does as well, as the cars try and get through the slower cars as we look through. And oh, that's a McLaren there. That's Miklos Gal, who's lost his rear wing, so we don't actually know what happened to him. But he lost his rear wing, so he's going to have to go into the pits. That's not the side he would have wanted at all, as Mojin comes through the technical part of the circuit, as Sam Thompson followed by Ricky Farquharson as they come through. As there goes Quinn and Sontag, and Levi tries to go around the outside of Gal, but he can't quite do it. So he's going to have to. He's being held up here, is Levi, and so are the rest of the drivers behind him. So I have to have another look as they come into turn 11. As they now come through turn 10. They come through turn 11. And Mackenzie also tries to make a move, and Levi gets past. Mackenzie tries to make a move, and now all the rest of them make their passes round into turn 12. And as Ionescu now finally drops to last place, but as we now go back up to the front, at the moment it is a comfortable lead, I believe, for James Willows. But as Moitu comes into the pits, Ionescu's in the pits as well, and so will Gal. Not been a good start for Gal. He's not had a particularly great season. Now Sontag is trying to attack the version of Quinlan. Meanwhile, Farquharson is trying to get past Thompson to turn 1, and he makes the move stick pretty comfortably in the end, and he moves up into 9th. And Sontag gets past Quinlan for 11th behind him, as Levi and Mackenzie are right behind each other. And Quag and Mocho, and well, did anyone see any different? I mean, you can just see that coming from a mile off there. The two Lotus drivers once again collide with each other. They are honestly just terrible. Like, it still amazes me that these two are still teammates. They collide with each other so many times this season. And once again, they spin off at turn 1. Quag gets in front as he was trying to overtake. As we're now on board with Lucas Levi, who is running at the moment in 14th place. He's running behind Mackenzie. He's dropped him off, having been right behind him. And he goes wide as he comes into turn 4. And he so nearly collects Wolf as he rejoins. That was very, very close there. Almost was the opposite of what happened in Silverstone, where James Willows came right back on the track and completely took out Levi and destroyed his car. But as you can see, he comes onto the track, and that was just so close. Just the camera goes away there. Now here is the battle for 6th place. This is between Southgate Carr and Joseph Willows, I believe, as they now come around turn 14, the final quarter. But Southgate always got a bit wide there, and he goes into the wall, and that's a big crash, and the whole back end of the car has completely been torn off. That is a huge crash. Let's hope Southgate is okay. But oh my goodness me, the car is in absolute bits everywhere around turn 14, right in front of the fans as well. That is not good at all. But that is Alex Southgate out of the race on lap 5. So what happened here? It looks like maybe a bit of a throttle jamming over. You can see he just goes wide there, and he just doesn't seem to slow down. And kaboom, he goes into the wall, and then he bounces off the tyres like a springboard there. And he gets put back onto the track, fortunately on the outside line, so none of the cars are unfortunately going to come onto that, but that just gives Carr and Joseph Willows a place. You can see he comes around the final corner and he just goes a bit offline, and for some reason he probably tries to maybe apply the brake, but maybe he forgot which one was the brake and which one was the throttle. But as you can see, he just goes around and he hits the wall in pretty spectacular fashion there. Big crash, and it completely rips off the back end of the car. As there is Rogue and Kuba in front, as now Armar Car and Willows come past onto the pit straight, but a big crash once again, so we'll have a look back in full speed. Comes around at full pelt, and bang! There it goes. Lucky that no other car was close enough or going wide around the corner to possibly hit him, but let's hope Southgate is okay after that. On lap 5, so it's been quite a dramatic start to the race so far, as there's Wolf in 13th, there's now Mackenzie trying to get past Quinlan for 11th place, and now Sontag and Wolf are battling up in front. As you know, Sontag and Thompson, I should say. And now there's a car gone off, and that's Levi once again. Just a lap later, he spins off again. It does question you how Levi did manage to get into the series, despite getting points at Valencia. It's been a pretty horrendous start. He's been involved in a number of crashes, notably with Robert Ionescu. And his driving hasn't all been particularly that good. He hasn't shown exactly fantastic signs of pace, despite that freak 3rd place he got at the Turkish Grand Prix. But as we look at Waze Kuba, and here's the battle for 6th place between Armar Car and Joseph Willows, who took advantage of Southgate's crash to move up a position as they come around turn 14 onto the final straight, and surely Joseph Willows is going to make a move on Car coming into turn 1, the best probably overtaking spot on the track, and Joseph Willows has got the slipstream, has got the spray I should say, right in front of his face. He now moves out of it, and he now attempts to make a move on Car into turn 1, and he makes it stick, and he's up to 6th place. And I now have Waze Kuba for company up in front. He'll hope to try and get past him as soon as possible if he wants to try and staying with the championship, although I don't think Willows really is in the championship, so Cooper will probably want to stay in front, so we'll see if there's any team orders there. Now there's a battle for second place between Evan Byrne and Volker, and Carr unfortunately has spun off, coming round into turn 2, sorry, and Carr, who was just behind, just been overtaken, and he makes a silly error there, and you can see just loses control of the car, gets a lot of understeer, and just completely aquaplanes on the wet surface. Obviously it's still raining at the moment, so the track is still getting even more slippery. So that's very unfortunate there for Carr. He's having a good race, took advantage of all the chaos that happened on the first lap to move up into the points. But he's still, I believe, in the points, but he'll lose a lot of time, and we'll see if that will impact him coming the end of the race. We shall see. That's not what Armagh Carr needed at all. You can see he does, in fact, you can see he does rejoin. As you know, he does lose the place actually to Ricky Farquharson in front of him. Thompson is coming through in 9th, so he's still in the points. And now Roland Moichin's gone off. He was running in 17th, having been involved on the first lap. So what happened here? Did he spin off by himself? And the answer is yes, he did. Coming into the chicane, he spins off by himself, and now Willows goes past Kuba. I don't know if there's any team orders there, but that seemed to be really, really easy there for Joseph Willows. Probably from Waze Kuba to let Willows by, I should say. But that is a move up to 5th place for Joseph Willows. Maybe Kuba just not had the pace, or maybe they're on a different strategy. We don't know. As now Volker is still attacking Evan Byrne, his championship rival, and no, he's not. He's not anymore. And Evan Byrne has gone off, and that is coming into turn 12. And what has happened here? Was there a collision between him and Volker? I don't know. But let's have a look. So Byrne was in front of Volker by 7/10, you can see at the top of your screen. So as they came into turn 12, was there any contact? We shall see. And the answer is he goes, and no, there wasn't, because Volker wasn't really even close to him. And Evan Byrne has made a really, really bad error there. That could cost him in the championship, but he's going to lose a whole host of positions here if he's not careful. And you can see he is losing the positions, and he does get going, or does he? No, he has to stop to let Quinn and his hold of drivers behind him get past, although he could have easily still got into that gap, but now he's going to have to wait for even more cars to come through. Grant's come through, Gal's come through, he's now down to 16th place, now down to 17th, as Michael Mocho goes past. That will probably be quite humiliating for him. And now as he comes through, and now Ionescu, Moitin, who are battling, comes through, and now even so does Roman Quarg, and he drops all the way down to 20th place. That will be quite demoralising for Evan Byrne, so he'll hope for better in the race. But now all the cars are coming into the pits, so some of them with a lot of fuel, so it looks like they may be going on to the wet tyres, because obviously these tyres that they're on right now with the white strip down them are in fact the monsoon tyres, so to speak, the extreme wet you could call them. And now just going on to the wet tyres, so Volker comes into the pits, so he is the main front runner. Will he try and see if he can get in front of his teammate James Willows? We shall see. But we don't actually know the gap up front, but we believe that James Willows has got a big gap out in front, so we'll see actually if that impacts him or not. It may not, because he's got a big gap out in front, but we shall see. We can see cars in, Joseph Willows is in, there's a whole host of cars in, Farquharson is in, as now Farquharson comes in for his stop, Carr is in, the whole host of drivers in, Sean Grant's in, as you can see on the bottom of your screen. A lot of drivers are in, so I imagine probably the front runners will come in the next lap or two, otherwise they could lose an advantage here. So we don't know what the pace is like going to be on these tyres, but clearly even though it is still raining, it's obviously not raining hard enough, and the track is getting a bit well, just slightly dry, you could say, or more grip on it probably, as Thompson comes out the pits. He comes out in 16th as Sean Grant comes in for his pit stop. 36 laps, so he'll be on a 2-stopper, so he'll have to only pit one more time. So at the moment it's James Willows who's got a 20-second gap over George Rote in 2nd place. Waze Kuba is in 3rd. As now Roman Quarg, the Frenchman who collided with the teammate Mocho once again, those two drivers seem to like each other really, maybe a bit too much out on track, as he seemed to kiss Mocho out the way into turn 1. As now James Willows comes into the pits, but will George Rote come into the pits? It doesn't look like he will, so George Rote will stay out another lap, so he will probably take the lead, it looks like, of the race. But James Willows comes into the pits for his first stop of the race. It's a 6.96 stops, so pretty quick there from the Renault crew. And now what's going on here? There's a car. Oh, and there's a car off, and that's Miklos Gal now, the other Hungarian driver. A nightmare for him in front of his home fan, and he makes contact with the Williams of Alan Wolf in front of him as he's battling for 8th place, the final point. And this is not the race that he would have wanted at all. It's not the race that Moji would have wanted at all. It's the worst possible race for the two Hungarian drivers in front of their home fans. But unfortunately, the guy makes contact. Wolf just about holds it, and he has to go across the chicane, comes back on right onto the track there. Fortunately, no contact was made, as now Levi goes off, coming through turn 11, and Lucas Levi, as you know, that's coming through turn 9, I should say, and that is a pretty bad mistake there from Levi. That is his 4th mistake in just 12 laps. That's pretty bad there from the Singaporean drivers. Now Joseph Willis is battling with Xavier Quinlan, who's still out on track. So George Roque has stayed out on track and is in fact leading for the moment, leading for the first time in I believe 2 seasons. As George Roque is leading, but James Willis obviously will probably overtake him as he has made a stop onto the wet tyres, with George Roque still being on the monsoon tyres, so to speak. So Quinlan's still staying out on those tyres, but the Williams of Sam Thompson, I should say, comes into the pits. But now Joseph Willis is going to try and attack Quinlan coming into turn 1, and will he make the move stick? He's trying to, and Quinlan blocks him out the way, and there was contact, and Joseph Willis, has he made it stick? And yes, he does. He barges him out of the way, probably not what he would have wanted. He wants to get up to maybe Cooper in front of him. But Joseph Willis barges Quinlan out of the way. You can see, actually, yes, he did that because Cooper actually came out in front of him in a stop. So I imagine Willis was probably not too pleased with that, having a virgin who probably shouldn't really even be there, although Grant obviously got his points, but shouldn't really be there at the moment, having not made his stop, get in front of him. But Ricky Farquharson is in 7th place. Mackenzie's actually managed to get up to 8th. Carr's down to 9th after that spin, so that really has cost him a lot of time. Robert Ionescu now comes into the pits for Toro Rosso. Let's see how quick his stop will be. It says 6.9 second stop as well, and he'll have to make another stop. It might be a 3 stop. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes. He's got 23 laps worth of fuel in the car, so we shall see come the end of the race if they will do a 3 stop Toro Rosso. But he comes out in 16th place, just ahead of Moyton, so he's actually just got ahead of Moyton, having been battling with him since the start of the race. But Gow is running in 20th, it comes out in 20th place in last, and Evan Burns in 19th. That's quite ridiculous. These guys should be at the front, not at the back. But George Roque has stayed out once again another lap, and James Willis is going to overtake him coming down the front straight. He'll have the fresher tyres, and he's going to overtake George Roque, who's been leading for a couple of laps. It will be probably quite sweet for Roque, as he hasn't led probably for the longest time due to his poor season at Force India. But he gets overtaken for the leaders. Now Volker's in 3rd. He's so far away from Willis. He's got a really comfortable lead, Willis. And the Red Bull's looking pretty good at the moment, as Volker just sets the fastest lap there at 1:33.8, I believe, as now Roque comes through. So he'll have to pit, I imagine, soon. Otherwise he might be left out on the track for too long. Will that affect him at the end of the race? We don't know. But now here's a battle between the 2 Ferraris. Joseph Willis, who's managed to catch up to Wade Cooper. Maybe if he hadn't been held up behind Quinlan, he would have got ahead of him after the stops, but Cooper stayed out in front of him. But now Willis is going to overtake him coming into turn 1, and Joseph Willis is up into 4th place with Volker in 3rd. And now here is a battle for 80th place between Evan Byrne and Roman Quagg. Not the battle you would have expected to see at the start of this race, and now Evan Byrne makes his move for 18th. Unfortunately, he's still got 10 places to move up to get to the points. He needs a whole host of drivers to retire or to have problems. So now that was another fastest lap, I believe. I think it was by Joseph Willis, I think it was, in the Ferrari. So it looks like probably the wet tyres at the moment are working very well, as James Willis comes through in 14th place. And at the moment, Roque, I believe, is still out on track, but Quinlan at the moment is still in 6th place. And now Farquharson comes through, and Quinlan has to go wide, and Mackenzie takes the place as well. That was probably fair racing, a bit aggressive there, you could say, from Farquharson, but he makes the move stick nonetheless. And that was good racing from Quinlan. Quinlan, who's actually still out on those monsoon tyres. There was almost contact. Had Quinlan not moved out like he did, there would have for sure been contact there. And you can see it just moved out just to the left, just enough, just so there wasn't any contact between Farquharson, because that probably would have really ruined his race. But Quinlan loses 2 positions to Farquharson and to Mackenzie there, coming through at turn 12, as Farquharson comes through 13 into 14. As we're now on lap 40 to 14 laps, this race has gone, and it's been a pretty fascinating race so far. Now George Roque does finally come into the pits for Renault, so at the moment he's still got 12 more laps of fuel in his car. Will the team fuel him for a long stint, as James Willis sets the fastest lap of the race? So it's clear to see that the wet tyres are the tyres to go on. So where will Roque come out on track? It'll be very interesting to see how that's worked out for the Lotus driver. So let's see as he comes in. Will the team fuel him for more laps? Let's have a look. So you can see at the top of your screen the fuel counter, and yes, they do. They fuel him for 40 more laps. So it's going to be a 2-stopper for Roque. So where will he come out on track? He's already dropped behind the Red Bulls, because that's not really a surprise. But where is he going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead of the Ferraris or behind the Ferraris? It's going to be pretty close at the moment. It looks like he possibly could actually come out ahead of the Ferraris. So this actually might have worked very well in Roque's favour. And yes, there is Joseph Willis coming down the straight. So that has actually worked out very well for Roque. So Lotus leaving him out for a couple of laps more than anyone else actually worked out very well in his favour. So he's moved up to 3rd. Now here is a battle between Robert Ionescu and Lucas Levi for 15th place. coming into turn 1, and Ionescu makes the move stick, and he is up into 15th. As now Evan Byrne is right behind Lucas Levi, and Joseph Willows is off, and I believe that is Roker that's off as well at turn 1, and it looks like 3rd and 4th have collided on track, and yes it is, and Roku is defending from Willows, and there was contact you could see, was there? Yes there was, and that's enough to send them both spinning off, and that is very unfortunate for Roki. It worked out very well for him, but now, unfortunately for Joseph Willows, it's not worked out well for him, because now Cooper has of course got past. Now he is up into the podium position, as now here is Xavier Quinlan battling with Mikolas Gau and battling with his teammate Sean Grant as they come into turn 1, and Grant tries to make a move, and there's contact, and the two Virgins have collided, and they spin out almost simultaneously, kind of, but unfortunately both Virgin drivers, both of the Virgins have unfortunately collided with each other. Once again, that's something they do not want to be doing in the car or outside of the car anyway, but now Quinlan, as he is set to rejoin, but he is at the moment waiting for cars to go past, and he's got enough of a gap, but for some reason he's not going at the moment, so I don't know if Quinlan might have a problem with his car because he's struggling to move it, but he's just still stuck there stationary at turn 1, so I think Quinlan might have a problem here. It doesn't look like there's anything on his dashboard. I don't know if the team are telling him anything, or he looks like he probably might have stalled the car, because at the moment it's making obviously a noise, but it's not going anywhere. He's not getting any revs in it, so I don't know if Quinlan's going to be out of the race, but his race is essentially ruined now because he is in last place. His car's still stuck there on the track, as there was enough of a gap for him to go, so I think Quinlan does have a really bad issue here. Let's have a look what happened coming into turn 1. So Quinlan was battling, he had a Gal behind him, and he tried to make a move on Grant. He saw he was vulnerable, and then I think Grant just kind of moved in front of him there, you could say, probably. A bit late, probably. Quinlan was not expecting that. But unfortunately for Grant, he's managed to get going, but unfortunately also, sorry, for Quinlan, that he appears to have a problem with his car because he's still not moving it, so you could probably say that Quinlan's out of the race, because his race essentially is over, because he's not really going to get anything else out of it, as his car's still stuck there at the first corner, so very unfortunate there for Xavier Quinlan. There's no marshals coming to him at the moment, but hopefully there will be soon, or unless he does eventually get the car going, unless the team are obviously telling him to maybe turn the car off and then turn it on again. I don't quite know what's going on there, but Quinlan, the race is very unfortunately over. In last place, he was running in the points for a couple of running as high as 5th at one point. Fortunately, that's over as now Moichin and will come through. Ionescu comes through, and you can see Quinlan is out of the race. Unfortunately, his car obviously has been pushed away by the marshals. So now here is the battle between the two McLarens for 14th place. As now Mikolas Gau makes his way past Evan Byrne. That will be quite a sickening blow for Evan Byrne, not the race he would have wanted at all. And now, even worse for Byrne, it is going to be lapped by James Wilhouse, and running on 20 laps. And now here's the two Ferraris battling each other. Joseph Willows trying to get past Waze Cooper coming into turn 1. Is he going to make the move stick? And yes, he does. And that is Joseph Willows onto the podium for Ferrari. And that is a good race there. Good overtake, I should say, from Willows. As now Ricky Parkinson is running actually in P5 at the moment. He's doing very well at the moment. He's got Mackenzie behind him. And that is Sam Thompson out the race for Williams. And Sam Thompson, unfortunately for Williams, it's been a pretty bad race for both Williams drivers. And for Sam Thompson, his race is over after 25 laps. So his car, obviously, it's got a spewing engine. Obviously, probably a water leak, or possibly the engine itself going. We will have a look probably at the replay in a second to see what the problem was. As Thompson's car does now get pushed away, but very unfortunate there. And you can see it was the engine, in fact, that blew. You can see the skies are turning blue. Speaking of turning blue in the sky, but I don't know if the rain is stopping. But it's still quite cloudy. But you can still see in parts that it is still quite cloudy. You can see the engine problem just takes it there, and unfortunately, it obviously was too terminal for him to take the pits. It's just a few corners later. You can see probably just about make out the smoke now coming from his car, aside from the spray, which meant that Thompson had to retire from the race. Very unfortunate there for the British driver. It's just not been his season. You can see the car now starting to slow down, and he eventually does pull off coming into turn 12, and he pulls off in the Astro. Wise thinking there to avoid any contact from any of the cars behind him. He goes into the wall in probably anger at what's happened. So here is Ricky Farquharson. Vassallo running in 7th place and coming into turn 2, and he's lost the car, and now Amar Khan makes his way through, and now he has lost 7th place. Another pretty uncharacteristic error there from Ricky Farquharson, and he drops down to 8th place. Unfortunately, both Sauber drivers not having a good season so far. They probably wish they'd kept Renz Jans, who had made an encouraging start. Now Waze Cooper comes in for another stop. I imagine he'll probably still go on another set of wets unless he goes on to the Inter tyres. We shall see, as now Jay McKenzie comes into the pits for his stop as well. Let's see where they come out on track. So Will Kuba should hopefully stay out in front, as Kuba puts on another set, it looks like, of the wet tyres, and now McKenzie looks like will do the same. Looks like James Willows at the bottom of your screen is also in the pits as well, as Amar Carr is also in the pits for Toro Rosso for another set of the wet tyres. Now looks like Lotus in front are set to make a pit stop for one of their drivers. Let's see how quick stops car the stop is for Carr, and it was a 7-second stop, and now Ricky Farquharson comes in for his stop, as now Ian Escu's in, Gal is in, Wolf is in, all the drivers are in, but Rick Farquharson has to wait for, it looks like, Robert Ionescu to come in the pits, and the crew aren't ready for him yet, and very unfortunately Ionescu could get held up in the pits here. That's not what he would have wanted at all. Very unfortunate there for Robert Ionescu, probably one of the unluckiest drivers on the grid. You could say he's been involved in a number of crashes so far this season, although he has actually got many more points. He already has doubled his points total from last season. He's still involved in a number of crashes so far this season. Volker now comes in the pits for his final stop of the race. Actually, no, it won't be a final stop, sorry, because he'll actually have to make one more stop before the end. But I don't think that will really matter at the moment, because the two Red Bulls are so far ahead of everyone else at the moment. Lucas Levi goes past, and now the Lotus of Roman Quad comes into the pits. But at the moment, the Red Bulls are absolutely running away with it. They've not got involved in any trouble whatsoever. And the Ferraris are just so far behind on pace, they're just not even getting anywhere close to the Red Bulls this weekend. So this is going very well for them. And now Joseph Willows, I should say, the brother of James, comes into the pits. It's a 4.9 second stop, and there's 30 laps of fuel, so you will have to actually pit one more stop. But now Roke temporarily goes into third place. So the question is, will, well, actually no, I think Roke will obviously come out behind Joseph Willows after that collision. Had he not had that collision, maybe he could have been fighting with the Ferraris for a podium. Unfortunately, that is not going to happen. Evan Byrne coming in for another stop. He was running in 9th place. Not been the race for Evan Byrne at all, really. It's just not gone very well for him, having had that spin just after taking second place from Volker. We'll see at the moment if that cost him the championship later on. Hopefully it won't, but we don't know. This series throws up a lot of unexpected twists and turns, but he comes in 9th place, just outside of the points, so he'll drop, unfortunately, quite a few places down. So at the moment, points I don't think particularly are on the cards here for Byrne, unless he has a bit of luck, which is possible, because he's had probably a pretty lucky start so far this season. So let's see how he does. So it's a 5.5 second stop, as Robert Ionescu comes out of the pits in front of him. It's 26 laps, so I believe he will have to pit again, I believe, as now Miklos Cow comes through in 10th. James Willows at the moment in first place, comfortably out in front, as now Joseph Willows in 4th, George Roke in 3rd, but he is actually going to come into the pits at this lap, so obviously switching to another set of the wets, so the track is probably getting a bit dry. As you can see, the sky is starting to be a bit blue over there on that side of the track where the fans are. So Roke comes into the pits for a stop. Will they fuel him to the end? Will be the big question. I imagine they probably will, because I don't think it will be any point of pitting him now and then doing one more stop before the end. That will probably ruin his race. But we shall see what the team do. So at the moment he's got 23 laps of fuel. That obviously will not make him to the end. Will they fuel him to the end? And the answer is 31. And that I don't think actually will make it to the end. So they fueled him for a bit more, but obviously going for a late stop. They don't think the tyres will last to the end. But now here's and there was a collision there. And that was, I think, Robert Ionescu who barged Felix Sonntag out of the way. Going into turn 12, we tried to make the move Ionescu. That was quite a dive bomb there. It wasn't really on there, because he was alongside, but unfortunately Sonntag really had the line there and wasn't really on that move there by Robert Ionescu, but he moves up into 11th place. Now here is the battle for 4th place between George Roke and Waze Kuba, so he's actually come up behind both Ferraris like we expected, but he's actually come up closer to them than I think we expected. And now here's Roke. He's going to try and make a move on Kuba coming into turn 1, and now he's going to make the mistake. Kuba really defends, and is there going to be any contact? And yes, there is. There's contact, and Roke and Kuba are around, as through goes James Willows, and there's almost contact. Jay McKenzie goes through, Amar Carr goes through, and now so does, I believe that is Miklos Gal, but that won't matter in the order. But now Roke will need to get himself going, and indeed he does, but Kuba is now going to get held behind, as now Roke does get going. That could cost Kuba come the end of the race, as now Moichin, I believe that is, goes through into 8th. But Kuba drops down to 9th, and that's possibly ruined the chance of a top 5 for both Roke and Kuba with that collision. Roke, who had been doing quite well so far in the race, but had contact with Joseph Willows, now has contact with his teammate, Waze Kuba, not a fan of the Ferraris, obviously, for some reason. And you can see, I mean, Roke was trying the move, but Kuba was really defending, and I don't think Roke really had anywhere to go. As unfortunately, I was lucky there wasn't any damage there, because he lifted Kuba's car up into the air. But now James Willows comes into the pits for his final stop of the race. It's been so dominant so far in this Grand Prix. It's been fantastic for the Red Bull. It's been an absolute stroll in the park at the moment. So it is going very well for them indeed. Let's see how quick the stop will be from the Red Bull team. It's 20 laps of fuel, so that will comfortably take him to the end, or take him to lap 74 to be exact. But of course, we only have 70 laps, so simple maths there. And Willows comes out. He'll, I believe, still be in the lead. And now there's another Williams car. That is, unfortunately, Alan Wolf, who's now out of the race. So both Williams cars are out of the race, and it's a puncher, and it's actually just after the pit exit entry, sorry. And that is very cruel there on Adam Wolf. And as you can see, he comes around just after the final corner. Turn 14, he suffers the puncher. How unfortunate that is for Adam Wolf and for both Williams drivers. They are out the Grand Prix. It's been another bad weekend for them. The pace, unfortunately, in their car is just not very good at all, as Wolf's car gets pushed away. Now Miklos Gau comes in for his final stop of the race for McLaren. Let's see how quick the stop will be from the McLaren pit crew. It's 4.8 litres left. They should hopefully fuel into the end. And they also fuel in 20 laps, same as James Willer, so he will make it comfortably to the end. Quick stop there, 4.7. Very quick there from McLaren. And let's see where he'll come out on track, and he'll come out actually in 7th place, and it's actually just behind George Roke, who obviously got caught in that collision with Waze Kuba. And now Gal's going to try and make a move on Roke coming into turn 1. He's got the slipstream around the spray in his face. Now he's going to make the move on Roke into turn 1. Is he going to make it stick? Roke doesn't bother defending, probably because Gal is the faster car, and he makes it up into 6th place, and Roke down to 7th. This could have been a much better race for Roke, but unfortunately it's not gone well for him. And now Volker is going to make his final stop of the race. So he's comfortably behind 5.4 at the moment, but that will obviously stretch out by an even bigger margin when he comes in, and indeed he does. And Volker comes in for his final stop, 16 laps of fuel, but that'll obviously be plenty enough to make it to the end. 7.3, a bit slow, but looks like it's set to be a Red Bull 1-2 here, unless any major problems occur. It's been, as I said, a stroll in the park really for Red Bull, and they probably will go to the water park after this to celebrate, to cool down, because I imagine it's still probably quite hot in this race, despite all this rain. As now Robert Ionescu comes into the pits for his final stop of the race. Let's see how quick the stop will be from the Toro Rosso pit crew. They'll obviously fuel him to the end, 17 laps of fuel. And let's see where he will come out on the track. It's an 8.4 second stop. It looks like he'll come out outside the points as now Amar Khan comes in for his final stop of the race. And let's see where he will come out on track. Car's had a pretty good race so far. He obviously gained a lot of positions due to the first corner chaos that occurred, as it does in pretty much every race in the GP4 OC. 100 races, of course, it has been, and been a great race so far. And now Joseph Willows is off, and Joseph Willows, who is running in 3rd place, I believe he has certainly stayed in 3rd place despite that spin, but that is a pretty uncharacteristic mistake there from Willows. Really something that he probably didn't really want to do. But I don't believe it will matter anyway, because he's so far ahead of Mackenzie, who at the moment is running in 4th place. But Willows just needs to get the car to the end so he can get a comfortable podium for Ferrari. And he just has to probably hope and pray that Red Bull does have a problem. But at the moment it doesn't look like it's happening, as now George Roke comes in for his final stop of the Grand Prix on lap 62 of the race. 13 laps of fuel, so he'll obviously comfortably make it to the end. It's a 6.6 second stop from the Lotus crew, and he'll come out, I believe, will he come out just inside the points or just outside? I'm not quite sure. And he'll come out just outside the points because Moyton's got past him. And now here is Rollo Moyton, who's battling with Waze Kuba coming into turn 1, and Rollo Moyton takes a 7th place off of Kuba. That's a great move there from the Hungarian driver. That will probably put that will hopefully cheer up the Hungarian fans, and also put a smile on their faces, and put a smile on Moyton's face as well. And now Evan Byrne, the championship leader, is out the race, but I don't think he was really, unfortunately, going to get any points anyway. But Evan Byrne is out of the race. It's been a pretty horrible race since that spin. It's pretty much completely ruined his race after getting ahead of Volker's rival. He unfortunately spun the car, and it just hasn't improved very much for him as well. He was right behind Robert Ionescu, actually, as he slides all the way over there on the grass. It looks like it was a puncher by the looks of it, because the car's leaning to the left. It probably is a puncher, and I believe it is, as now Felix Sontag comes in for his final stop of the race on lap 64. So he's actually gone quite far, but the team haven't fueled him at the end, but he'll be fueled for 11 laps, and it was in fact a puncture that put Evan Byrne out of the race. He'll hope for better, as now Michael Mocho comes through 16th. He'll come in the pits as Jay McKenzie's currently running in 4th, but he'll hit this lap with just 5 laps to go. As McKenzie comes in, he's set to probably get some good points for the Renault team. George Roque, I think, is set to come home in either 8th or is set to come home in 8th place. He'll get the point, but it'll be a race that Roque would have hoped that would have been maybe just a bit better than what it was, I think. But anyway, McKenzie comes into the pits in 5th place. And where will he come out on track? He's come out behind Gal. I don't know if actually he'll come out behind Armar Carr or not. I'm not sure. I don't know the gap there, but we shall see. But McKenzie, let's see where he comes out on track, as the yellow flag is at the moment out for some reason. We don't actually know why. There's a yellow flag out for some reason. I don't actually know where it was, but there was a yellow flag out for a brief time. But, well, I'm not sure where it is. But anyway, it doesn't really matter about that. But here is your current race leader, James Willows. It's been an absolutely dominant performance from James Willows. He led from the start, had a good start, and he's never looked back from there. And for both Red Bulls, it's been an amazing race. They've been so dominant, and no one's actually come at all close to him. And now Sean Grant is off the track, and there's a Renault there, and that's Jay McKenzie's off. And Jay McKenzie is off the track. Unbelievable scenes. And he was running in 5th place, I believe, and now he's going to lose a number of positions. He's down to 8th place. He's dropped behind George Roque, and now he rejoins the track. And Sean Grant rejoins as well, and McKenzie goes a bit wide, he goes on the wet stuff, and he spins again. That's unbelievable. And now Grant goes past him and just avoids him. And now he does try and attempt to rejoin, but he has to wait, I believe, for cars behind. So what happened here? He must have had a collision with Grant, because there's no way that he would have come off there. So let's have a look. McKenzie tries to go around the outside of Grant, and Grant just got right in his way there. What was he doing? I don't know what Grant was thinking there, but that was a pretty silly error there from Grant. It's been the complete opposite of his race from Germany. And that is and Jay McKenzie is going to be very, very red-faced of this. He's set to take a comfortable 5th place, and unfortunately that has now gone up in smoke. I don't know, at the moment I think he's still in the points, as far as we know, because he dropped down to 8th place. But will he drop any more positions? I don't know. But for McKenzie, that is a pretty horrendous, well, it's unfortunately a horrendous error by Grant, which has cost him a chance of some good points here. He will not want to look back at this again, and he'll want to get out of here as soon as possible. So he spun off, and there's Toros going. That's Ionescu. So in fact, McKenzie has now dropped out of the points, and what an absolute sucker punch that is for Jay McKenzie. I can't believe what has happened there. Very, very unfortunate. You've got to feel for him. Probably one of the most unluckiest drivers of the series. Very, very sad there for Jay McKenzie. Not what he would have wanted at all, as he rejoins in 9th, but he'll want to finish this race as soon as possible. And James Willows comes across the line, and he wins, and he takes his first victory of the season in the 2011 OC, as James Willows comes home in 3rd place. And they have, in fact, I believe, lapped the entire field with James Willows coming behind him. That is quite incredible there. Miklos Galvin makes a fantastic recovery to 4th place, but James Willows takes his first victory of the season, and Florian Volker comes home in 2nd to take a Red Bull 1-2. What a race it was by them. As now Roman Quarg set to come home in 14th place. Not the race he would have wanted either, having collided with Rainer Moichin early on. It's just not been a good season for him, and not been a good season for Mocho either, as they actually come in fact behind each other as well, as Mocho comes home in 15th place, as now Armar Carset take home a fantastic 5th place, although it would have been 6th had he not had the collision with McKenzie not occurred between Grant and McKenzie, I should say. So he comes home in 5th, so very well done to him. As though Roland Moichin comes home in 6th place, and George Roque is set to come home in 7th place. He gets some points after his recent spate of retirements. Lucas Levi comes home in 13th. Sean Grant, who will want to get out of this place as soon as possible, comes home in 16th place. And Robert Ionescu is set to come home for the last point. I believe that's the 3rd consecutive race that Ionescu has finished 8th in, so that's good, consistent points there. But Jay McKenzie, you've got to feel for the guy. He comes across the line in 9th place, just can't get any luck, having just finished the last 2 races in the points. It's just not gone for him here. Waze Cuba comes home in 10th place. It's been a nightmare race for him. But here are the full race results. So James Willows wins as Florian Volker 2nd, with the following drivers all a lap down. Joseph Willows in 3rd, Miklos Gal 4th, Armar Carr 5th, Moichin 6th, Roque 7th, Ionescu 8th, McKenzie 9th, and Kuba being the top 10, with Robert Ionescu being the last point scorer, with the following drivers 2 laps down, Bart Hussein, Sontag and Levi, with Quarg, Mocho and Grant 3 laps down, with the following drivers retiring: Evan Byrne, Alan Will, Sam Tillman, Xavier Quinlan, Alex Southgate and Viggo Holst. So we will now see the fastest lap of the race and all the fastest laps of all the drivers. Oh no, in fact we won't. I should say, as we now go straight to the Drivers' Championship. I thought we were going to see it, but it doesn't really matter. But as you can see, Sean Grant was given a 25-second penalty for causing a collision with Jamie Mackenzie. Unfortunately, that won't pretty much help Mackenzie whatsoever, but it's very unfortunate there for him. But anyway, here are the drivers' standings. So Evan Byrne currently, his lead now down to 4 points, with Florian Volker taking second place, I should say, with Jose Willis now up to third. But he is still 17 points behind, with Wade Kuber and Miguel Scal both on 44. James Willis now still in 6th place, but he's now gained on Jose Willis, now only 4 points off with 40 points. Viggo Holst 16 points behind with 24. Southgate 8th with 21. Sontag 9th with 16. Roke 10th with 16. Carr 11th with 11 points. Moichin 12th with 10. Ionescu 13th with 8. Mackenzie's 14th with 7. Wolf 15th with 5. Renzian 16th with 5. Quark 17th with 3, Parkinson 18th with 2, Grant with 2, and Luke Steve also with 2, with Sam Thompson, Quinlan, and Macho, the drivers who haven't yet to score a point this season. And the fastest lap of the race, I should say, I only just noticed this, unfortunately, it was actually set by, I only just noticed this due to my bad eyesight, was set by James Willows. And so the Constructors' Championship, McLaren still lead by 7 points ahead of Red Bull. It's going to be very, very close there. Ferrari third with 88, well clear of Mercedes, 4th with 37, Force India 5th with 34, Renault 6th with 23, probably a battle there for 4th and 5th, probably Renault out of that, you could say. Toro Rosso 7th with 19, 8th is Sauber with 9, Williams 9th with 5, Lotus 10th with 3, and Virgin 11th with 2. Well, that has been the Hungarian Grand Prix. Quite a good race, I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to vote, as usual, for your driver of the day and give the race a rating out of 10. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll see you for the next round for the Belgian Grand Prix at the infamous Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium. Thanks for watching, and we will see you there. Goodbye.